Flashlight Book is from, and I am here with my October wrap up, which is incredibly late, like super late. We're talking, today is November 12th, and I'm actually going to be filming my my mid-month check-in for November right after I get finished filming this. So that's great. But I did want to give you some of the stats and the wrap-ups that I have for my second half of October. I already did do the first half of October, so I'll leave that linked in the card symbol somewhere up here. I hope I remember to do that, because I never remember to do the whole card symbol thing. I'm trash at that. But anyway, so in the month of October, I read 20 books, which is the best reading month that I've had all year. And the reason why it's been the best reading month that I've had all year is because with the baby, I was able to listen to a lot of audiobooks. I read a lot of stuff on my phone when I had her. Being out on maternity leave, I had, you know, a little bit more downtime, not excessive because I mean, I have a infant, but a little bit more downtime than I traditionally have throughout my day. So out of the 20 books that I read, I listened to 7 of them on audio, which is 35%. The rest I read physically, whether that was a physical copy or a digital copy. Most of them actually were digital copies as opposed to physical copies, but I didn't work out the statistics for that, but most of them were digital copies. I read a total of 4,079 pages, and that does include the audiobooks. I just looked up the editions on Goodreads and wrote down the page numbers for what it would translate to if it was a physical copy. Out of the 20 books, 11 books were adult. 1 was a children's book, 1 was a middle grade book, and, or sorry, 4 were middle grade books and 4 were YA books. So that means that I read 50%, 55% of what I read this month was adult, 5% was children, and 20% was middle grade, and 20% was YA. So this is probably the most heavy adult reading month that I've had in a while. I have found myself not trying to find a balance instead of just gravitating so much towards YA, even though it is part of my job description, which is why I do end up reading a lot of YA fiction. But I am also excited when I can diversify my reading and start to touch in areas that I typically don't gravitate to, or is not specifically related to my job. The same thing happened when I broke down and looked at the genres. So I had several different genres that I read this month. So when I say adult, children, middle grade, YA, I mean as far as like reading audience. And these are broke down to specific genres. So the first genre was realistic fiction. I read 3 books in that category, which was 15% of everything that I read this month. 2 graphic novels, which equivalated to 10%, and I don't think equivalent is a word, so forgive me. 1 mystery, which was 5%. 10 romance books, which was 50% of what I read, which I was super pleased with because I am now exploring the genre of romance a lot more than I have in the past, and that makes me really, really excited because I think that a lot of times romance gets a bad reputation, and it is a wonderful genre. If you know anything about the publishing industry, you know that romance is the driving force of publishing. It is the highest grossing genre of publishing worldwide. So for that simple fact, it definitely should be getting a higher appreciation than what it does. So I have been inching into reading definitely more romance. Like I said, that was 50% of what I read this past month. 1 fantasy, which was 5%, 1 sci-fi, 5%, 1 historical fiction, 5%, and last 1 paranormal, 5%. So as I said before, I'm not going to talk about the books that I read before, but I will give you my overall star ratings. So for the star ratings, I had 3 5-star books, 1 4.5 star book, 9 4-star books, which is really good, 2 3-star books, 4 2-star books, and 1 1-star book. So overall, pretty much a good reading month. As you guys know, I'm very picky about my star ratings. Most books usually get like anywhere from a 3, 3.5 from me. 4 were meaning we're doing well, and 5 stars, like I have to be completely blown away by the book in order to give it 5 stars. As far as the books that I read in the second half of October, all of them were either digital or audiobooks, so I'm gonna have to put pictures right here. The first one that I read was Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas, and Birthday Girl is one that I was recommended or I heard about from Jess over at Peace Love Books, and she read this book, or she mentioned this book when she talked about her age gap romances, and I was like, ooh, this sounds good. I've never read an age gap romance. I've never read I think she also classified it as kind of like a forbidden romance. I could be wrong, but it's between a girl and her boyfriend's father, and I was like, how is this gonna work? This is not gonna work. And it did, y'all. Birthday Girl was so good. I think that for me, romances that I read are gonna need to be slow burn, because slow burn for me builds that anticipation, and I'm kind of like, would you go ahead and get it together? Like, you both like each other, you both, you know, want to be together, and, you know, just do it already. I think that for me, it makes me really, really enjoy a book. So I'm definitely going to be looking for more slow burn romances. So if you have any recommendations, please leave them down in the comment box below. I devoured the book. I thought it was phenomenal. It was done very, very well. She is 19, I believe, in this book. 18, 19 in this book, and he is definitely in his 30s, and it is done so well. It is just, oh gosh, the sex scenes were just wow. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I was like, how is Penelope Douglas going to make this work, considering that it is her boyfriend's father? Like, how do you make something like that work? And she did it very well. I kind of saw the reasoning for it happening before it happened, but even with the reasoning, with me having some kind of insight to what was going to happen, I still didn't know how the fallout would resolve itself. And Penelope Douglas did such a great job, y'all. Like, I need to read more of her stuff. Like I said, I gave that one 5 stars. It was just phenomenal, and oh, I need to read the book soon because it was just that good. The next book that I read was The Witches by Roald Dahl. I ended up giving this one 4 stars, and The Witches is a classic book. I've seen the film, read the book, so this was a reread for me, and I have some plans with some other stuff related to it, but I won't get into that. That's later on. And what I absolutely loved about this book was how whimsical and fun it was to listen to it on audio. The audio version that I listened to through my library, I listened to it through Overdrive, and it was like there was multiple, it wasn't full cast per se because there was only one narrator, but there were background noises and stuff that added to the atmosphere of the book. So like there's a scene where they're in a dining room, and in the background you can actually hear people talking and hear like the clattering of dishes and china and all that stuff. So I thought that was really, really neat. It made for an interesting listening experience. If you've never read The Witches before, which I think most people have at this point either seen the movie or have heard of the book or have some type of context of what it is about this young boy and his grandmother, and she enlightens him about what witches are and that they're not your stereotypical characters, and she gives him all the signs of finding witches, and they go on this vacation, and he happens to encounter a whole hotel full of witches that are there under the guise of wanting to turn all children into rats to get rid of them. It is hilarious. I thought that the witches were just they're funny. They're stupidly funny. And I really just enjoyed listening to it. And I'll be continuing reading some more of Roald Dahl's books. I think I currently have like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory checked out. So that'll be the next one that I listen to. The next book that I listened to on audio was Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. And I picked up this book because I heard Riley Marie talk about it, and I was like, do I really want to read a romance about, and this is kind of like a science fiction, not kind of, it is a science fiction romance about aliens that have sex with humans. I was like, I don't know if I really want to listen to that, but you know what? I'm gonna go for it, and I'm glad that I did because it was really interesting and I really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. So Planet Barbarians is about these group of women who ended up getting kidnapped, I think by one alien species, and they take them to this planet. And when they're on this planet, the main character, Georgia, kind of takes leadership to kind of see if she could find them help on this planet, and she runs into this alien, and this alien ends up doing some interesting things, and they forge a relationship, and it goes from there. And it's very intriguing how the other women react to seeing these aliens and how they bond and they get along. And I just thought it was good. I really did find it interesting. I thought that the 2 main characters, I can't say the alien's name, but I can't remember how to say it, but I thought that their interactions were really good. So I will be continuing with that series. I don't know when I'll pick up the next one, but I know that I'm definitely interested in picking up the next one. The next 2 books are books that I actually read as part of a blog tour that I was on, and they're both YA. The first one was Glow Girl, and this is by M. Weidenbender, and this is a young adult science fiction book that kind of gave me X-Men vibes. It's about a girl who has these powers, and the group of individuals that have these powers, and it's on Earth. It's just in the future of a future version of Earth, and there are these people who have powers, and they're called droids, and they all have different powers. So our main character in this book, her ability, Willow is her name, her ability is to heal. So, and she finds that she can heal animals. I won't talk about her ability or inability to heal humans, but she does have the ability to heal, and she uses the power from her hands. Whenever she knows that an animal is in distress, she can lay her hands on them. They start to glow, and then she's able to heal them. Well, of course, naturally in a setting like this, you know, droids are not socially accepted. They are outcasts. They are picked on. There are a lot of discriminatory things that happen to droids. So as a safety precaution, her family asks her not to use her powers. And she has a tough time because, you know, healing and being a droid is part of who she is. And she has a lot of difficulties with that because she is adopted. So she doesn't know, like, if this is something related to her adopted family, I mean to her biological family, and she's scared that her adopted family is going to think less of her if she decides that she wants to be a droid. She meets this guy who's also a droid, and he has different powers. His is visions. It definitely, like I said, gave me X-Men vibes, which I thought was really cool and really interesting. And it left off on a cliffhanger to the point that I reached out to the author and I was like, so can you tell me exactly what happens to these characters, because I need to know. And she responded, and I'm excited because she should be writing the 2nd book in the series, so I'll look forward to seeing that come out. And I ended up giving that one 4 stars. The next one that I read for the blog tour was Girls Like Us by Randy Pink, and this is one that I classified as historical fiction. It takes place in 1972, and it is told in 4 different perspectives, and all 4 of the young girls that are that have a voice in this book are affected by teen pregnancy in some way. And it is, gosh, it is such a compelling story. You see the different effects of how pregnancy affects women, and what happened when these women did not have the choice to choose whether they wanted to remain pregnant or not. And it was varying situations. This book does definitely have trigger warnings for rape and incest. And, you know, it's just, I think that this book was so impactful to me because I had just had a baby of my own, and you know, I made the choice to have my baby even though I knew that I was going to be a single mom, and some women would not have made the same choice as me, which is okay. And this book really does show how important it is for women to be able to decide what they want to do, and that it shouldn't be men or lawmakers or whoever telling women what they can and cannot do with their bodies, especially when, you know, it's choices that we would have to live with in the end, and how it can impact your body, and how dangerous pregnancy and childbearing is dangerous. It is extreme, and I don't think people realize how dangerous it is, and how women die from giving birth. And then there are circumstances in which, you know, women don't feel like they're in a place where they want kids, or they may not be financially ready, or they may not be emotionally ready. They just, you know, it's not what they want. And then, you know, it also touches on the fact that there are circumstances under which women get pregnant that are traumatic. And having a child from that situation would be a constant reminder that they, you know, went through that experience. So this book definitely touches on all of that. It is not an easy read. It is not a pleasant read. It is not a happy read. It is not a read that has a conclusive end to it, because what she does is, this book was written to touch on what is going on right now with abortion bans in different states. And I believe that the author is from Alabama, which has one of the strictest abortion bans, or it was attempting to place in one of the strictest abortion bans. And this was kind of her answer to what has been going on in the nation, and that's something that is still discussed. So I could understand why the book itself was not conclusive, because you couldn't give a conclusive ending to something that is still going on. And I know some people have criticized the book and have said that it should have had touched more on Roe versus Wade, but I think that that was beside the point, because I saw, let me see if I can word this, because I saw a review where someone said that they basically ended up doing what society was expected, and that was the point, I believe, of this book, was doing what society expected of them, because of the fact that they had no other choice but to do it. So I love this book. I ended up giving it 5 stars. If you haven't read it, definitely check it out. I think it's going to be a phenomenal book for a lot of people to read. The author is such a sweet lady. She wrote another book which I know a lot of people did not like, but definitely check this one out. And the last book that I read was Blood and Snow, which I classified as paranormal, and I gave this book 1 star. I checked this out on Kindle Unlimited, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. This is like a Snow White retelling plus vampires, and it had been a while since I read a paranormal book, but this book was awful. Like, it started off good. I had such high hopes. I was just, you know, I was suspending my disbelief, and I was just kind of going with the flow, but it was all over the place. Like, I could not tell whether this book was focused on vampires, the Snow White retelling, or other creatures. It just didn't make sense at all. It didn't make any sense. The writing wasn't bad, but she did do something that I did not agree with, and it was the fact that she included random tidbits of Japanese culture without really explaining it or having any justification. It was just like she wanted to throw that in there just so it would be kind of cool, and it didn't even seem like it fit within the story. And then she made Snow's best friend a witch for no reason, and like Snow was in this insta-love relationship but then pissed because the seven dwarfs, who are like these seven hot guys, one of them was freaked out by the fact that she was becoming a vampire, and she was originally bit when she was younger, but it was because the queen of the vampires needs her body and wants to live in her body as listen, it was ridiculous. It was all over the place. It was like 7 or 8 different plot lines in one damn book. It didn't make any sense. I don't know why the author went with it. It was a trash book, and I don't say that often. Like, that book was awful. I wasted my time. I don't know why I picked it up. I don't understand how people like the book. It just wasn't good. Like, it just wasn't good, and I just will never, ever, ever read anything by that author or finish that series. You'd have to pay me to do that. So no, 1 star, like I said. All right, y'all, so that's it for my October wrap up, my final wrap up with my stats. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in following me and getting more updates from me, make sure you click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notification. If you're interested in following me on social media, all of my links will be down in the description box below. As always, I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll be back with another video soon.